Chapter 239. Young Master, the Class 9 LV3 Demonic Beast's essence blood is expensive. The shopkeeper smiled. Oh, how many spiritual crystals for one? Lu Ming asked. A Class 9 LV3 Demonic Beast's essence blood costs 25,000 spiritual crystals. The shopkeeper replied. Hiss. Even though Lu Ming was mentally prepared, he still took a deep breath. A Class 9 LV3 Demonic Beast's essence blood costs 25,000 spiritual crystals. That was too terrifying. Young Master, the higher the level of the demonic beast's essence blood, the harder it is to collect it. Moreover, the cost of storing it is very high. This price is not high. The shopkeeper explained. Lu Ming nodded. He certainly understood this. How many essence blood do you need? The shopkeeper asked. 20 essence blood for now. Lu Ming thought for a while and said, What? 20? 20 essence blood? The shopkeeper exclaimed as the fat on his face trembled. What? You don't have that many? Lu Ming frowned and asked. Yes, absolutely. The shopkeeper shouted excitedly. He knew that he had a big customer today. Normally, inscriptionists would only buy a few essence blood to refine pills or refine equipment. How could they buy so many? Moreover, only inscriptionists above the martial ancestor realm would buy the essence blood of a Class 9 LV3 demonic beast. It was very rare to buy 20 essence blood of a Class 9 LV3 demonic beast in one go. The shopkeeper's heart trembled with excitement. I'll send someone to get it right away. The shopkeeper shouted, and then sent someone to get it. Shopkeeper, how much is a Class 9 LV3 monster core? Lu Ming asked. You still want to buy monster cores? The shopkeeper was even more delighted and quickly replied. A Class 9 LV3 monster core is much cheaper than a demonic beast's essence blood because it is convenient to store and contains more impurities than a demonic beast's essence blood. Generally, it is 1/5 of the price of a demonic beast's essence blood of the same level. A Class 9 LV3 monster core costs about 5,000 spiritual crystals. All right. Give me 30 monster cores, Lu Ming said without hesitation. All right, please wait for a moment. I'll send someone to deliver it right away. After saying that, the shopkeeper hurriedly got up and walked out. After a while, the shopkeeper walked in with a few young girls carrying a few jade boxes. Young Master, here's the blood essence and Yao core you want, the shopkeeper said with a smile. Lu Ming took a look and saw 20 portions of Class 9 LV3 Demonic Beast Blood Essence and 30 Class 9 LV3 Demonic Beast cores. Lu Ming nodded with satisfaction. Then, he took out a storage ring and handed it to the shopkeeper. Shopkeeper, here are 650,000 spirit crystals. Please count them. The shopkeeper took the ring and scanned it with his consciousness. His smile became even brighter as he said, Young Master, since you bought so many items at once, we have a discount. This time, we only charge you 600,000 spiritual crystals. Also, this is our store's VIP card. As long as Young Master comes again, all of your items will be 20% off. The shopkeeper took out a golden VIP card and 50,000 spirit crystals and handed them to Lu Ming. Thank you. Lu Ming was overjoyed and accepted it without hesitation. Lu Ming would not hesitate to accept it, since he could save 50,000 spirit crystals. Also, he would get a 20% discount when he came again. Lu Ming was very tempted. With a wave of his hand, he kept the blood essence and Yao core. At the side, a few beautiful young girls looked at Lu Ming with sparkles in their eyes. He had spent 600,000 spirit crystals in one go. In their hearts, Lu Ming was a high and mighty figure. It would be great if we could get the attention of such a figure, the young girls thought to themselves. However, they knew that it was impossible. How could someone like Lu Ming be interested in them? Shopkeeper, I'll take my leave. Lu Ming cupped his fists and left. Lu Ming did not feel the pinch of spending 600,000 spirit crystals in one go. After all, he had gotten them from the Decimo Sword Faction disciples. After returning to the dormitory, Lu Ming entered the Temple of Paragon and could not wait to start cultivating. First, Lu Ming controlled his bloodline and swallowed a Class 9 LV3 demonic beast's blood essence. He then started refining it. This time, Lu Ming did not use it to increase his cultivation. Instead, he used all the energy in the blood essence to increase his bloodline grade. The Yao core was enough for him to increase his cultivation. 2 hours later, the blood essence was completely refined. There were 6 blood-red chakras in his bloodline. They were extremely dazzling, but the 7th chakra was not born. In addition to the blood essence of the 3 blood ants, Suemo had swallowed 4 Class 9 LV3 demonic beasts' blood essence. However, his bloodline grade had not increased. This showed how difficult it was to increase his bloodline grade. Then, Lu Ming took out another Class 9 LV3 demonic beast's blood essence and started swallowing it. After swallowing it, he took out another one. Just like that, Suemo swallowed 15 demonic beasts' blood essences and used them all to increase his bloodline grade. Suddenly, his bloodline trembled and the 7th blood-red chakra was born. When the 7th blood-red chakra was born, the spirit-devouring bloodline that was like a long snake roared to the sky. Its body shone brightly and expanded rapidly. It became thicker and longer. In the end, it turned into a giant python that was about 10 meters long. It floated above Lu Ming's head. It evolved. The spirit-devouring bloodline evolved again. Lu Ming was overjoyed. The spirit-devouring bloodline had evolved once when it was promoted to level 4. At that time, it had evolved from a finger-sized worm to a small snake. Now, it had evolved from a small snake to a giant python. What would it become after the next evolution? Lu Ming was looking forward to it. The giant python roared and opened its mouth. A powerful devouring power burst out. The devouring power was several times stronger than before. Continue to devour. Lu Ming took out another demonic beast's blood essence. But this time, it only took him half an hour to completely refine it. The 7th chakra became brighter. Then, Lu Ming refined the remaining 4 demonic beasts' blood essences in one breath. I wonder how much demonic beast's blood essence I need to increase my bloodline grade to level 8. Lu Ming sighed inwardly. Then, Lu Ming took out a monster core and began to devour and refine it. Monster cores were much more troublesome to refine than blood essence. But now, the devouring power of the spirit-devouring bloodline had greatly increased. It did not take much time to refine it. In 3 hours, he had refined one. Lu Ming's cultivation had improved, but not by much. He continued to refine it. After refining 5, Lu Ming's cultivation had entered the middle stage of level 6 martial master from the early stage of level 6 martial master. The energy needed to improve was much greater than Lu Ming had imagined. Continue. In the next 3 days, Lu Ming had refined a total of 20 monster cores. Lu Ming's cultivation had reached the peak of level 6 martial master. He was only one step away from breaking through to level 7 martial master. But at this point, Lu Ming had refined several monster cores, but it was to no avail. It was difficult for him to break through to level 7 martial master. Lu Ming knew that he had encountered a bottleneck. During this period of time, he had improved too quickly and his cultivation could not keep up. Chapter 240. Lu Ming walked out of the Temple of Paragon and the dormitory. Big Brother Tianyun. The moment he walked out of the dormitory, he bumped into Ming Peak. Ming Peak. Lu Ming smiled. Big Brother Tianyun, my elder brother asked me to go to the Dtian battle arena with him. Do you want to come along? Ming Peak asked. Dtian fighting arena. Lu Ming's eyes flashed, revealing a hint of interest. The Dtian battle arena was very famous. It could be said that everyone knew about it. This was because it wasn't built by any force in the Blazing Sun Empire. The Dtian battle arena was built by the Dtian Divine Palace. The Dtian Divine Palace was an unimaginably powerful force. Not to mention the Blazing Sun Empire. Even the 36 empires of Emperor Yuan were trash in front of the Dtian Divine Palace. The Dtian Divine Palace was an extremely powerful force in the entire Divine Wilderness continent. The Dtian battle arenas built by the Dtian Divine Palace were scattered all over the Divine Wilderness continent. There were countless of them. Among the 36 empires of Emperor Yuan, there was only one imperial capital that had a Dtian battle arena. In the Dtian battle arena, one could fight and kill at will. Furthermore, one could earn a lot of spiritual crystals. This was a martial artist's heaven and hell. In this place, one's life was worthless. However, as long as one had the strength, one could win glory and wealth. Lu Ming wanted to train himself. Perhaps the Dtian battle arena was a good place to go. Let's go and find your elder brother. Lu Ming smiled. Haha, let's go. Ming Peak was overjoyed. He went to find Miangqing with Lu Ming. When Miangqing saw Lu Ming, he was naturally overjoyed. The three of them headed towards the Dtian battle arena. The Dtian battle arena was located in the south of the imperial capital. From the outside, the Dtian battle arena was an oval-shaped building that was over 100 meters tall. There were guards at the entrance of the Dtian battle arena. In order to enter the Dtian martial arena, everyone had to pay 10 spirit crystals. This was the arena set up by the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. No one dared to disobey. Even the people from the 10 Directions Sword Sect had to behave themselves in the Emperor Heaven arena. The omnidirectional sword sect seemed powerful, but that was only in the Burning Sun Empire. Against a power like the Emperor Heaven Deity Palace, the difference between them and the Emperor Heaven Deity Palace was unimaginable. Perhaps any random servant from the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace would be able to destroy the 10 Directions Sword Sect with a flick of his finger. After each of them handed over 10 spirit crystals, the three of them walked into the Dtian martial arena. When they walked in, they realized that the Dtian battle arena was much larger than they had imagined. The surroundings of the Dtian martial arena were densely packed with spectator stands. There were at least tens of levels, and it wouldn't be a problem to accommodate hundreds of thousands of spectators. In the center of the arena, there was a battle platform that was 200 meters long and wide. At this moment, there were two figures fighting fiercely in the fighting ring. Shouts and cheers were heard all around. Lu Ming glanced over and saw that the crowd on the spectator stands wasn't very dense. However, Lu Ming estimated that there were at least tens of thousands of people. Lu Ming sighed inwardly. The Dtian martial arena was really profitable. Even if there were only tens of thousands of spectators each day, the daily income would be hundreds of thousands of spirit crystals. Kill. On the battle platform, two middle-aged men were filled with killing intent. They roared and charged towards each other. Boom, boom. Both of them were first-stage martial grandmasters. After exchanging tens of blows, the yellow-robed man won and chopped off his opponent's head. Haha, I've finally achieved 6 consecutive victories. The yellow-robed man laughed. 6 consecutive victories? There should be a reward of 100 spirit crystals. Lu Ming thought to himself. According to the rules of the Dtian martial arena, anyone could go up to the stage and challenge someone as long as they paid 50 spirit crystals. At the beginning, it was a battle between people of the same level. For the first 5 battles, it was very casual. You could challenge anyone, and there wouldn't be any rewards. From the 6th battle onwards, the Dtian martial arena would arrange for stronger opponents. If you won, there would be a reward of 100 spirit crystals. For 6 consecutive victories, there would be 100 spirit crystals. For 7 consecutive victories, there would be 200 spirit crystals. For 8 consecutive victories, there would be 500 spirit crystals. After 10 consecutive victories, there would be a reward of 2,000 spirit crystals. After 10 consecutive victories, if you wanted to continue, you wouldn't be able to challenge people of the same level. Instead, you would have to challenge people of a higher level. Furthermore, the Dtian martial arena wouldn't allow you to challenge people of a higher level. They would arrange for stronger opponents. For 1 consecutive victory, there would be a reward of 5,000 spirit crystals. For 2 consecutive victories, there would be a reward of 10,000 spirit crystals. For 3 consecutive victories, there would be a reward of 20,000 spirit crystals. For each consecutive victory, there would be an additional 10,000 spirit crystals. For 10 consecutive victories, there would be a reward of 90,000 spirit crystals. If you wanted to continue, you would have to challenge people of 2 levels higher. Of course, the rewards would be even better. For 1 consecutive victory, there would be a reward of 100,000 spirit crystals. For each consecutive victory, there would be an additional 100,000 spirit crystals. If you could win 10 consecutive victories, there would be a reward of 1 million spirit crystals. It was extremely terrifying. The more levels one could surpass, the more terrifying the reward. This would naturally attract countless geniuses to come and challenge them. Do you want to continue? In the battle arena, the judge of the DTON Martial Arena asked. Yes, of course. The yellow-robed man was filled with confidence. All right, I'll arrange it, the judge said. After a while, a white-haired elder walked onto the battle arena. He was also a first-stage martial master. Boom. Without saying anything else, the two of them started fighting. However, this time, the elder was clearly superior. After about 100 moves, he sent the yellow-robed man flying with a punch, causing him to vomit blood. I admit defeat, the yellow-robed man hurriedly shouted. In the DTON Martial Arena, one could kill as they wished. If one didn't admit defeat, only death awaited them. The yellow-robed man admitted defeat, and the white-haired elder also stopped. After that, the yellow-robed man received his reward of 100 spirit crystals and left the battle arena. The white-haired elder also left the battle arena. Is there anyone else who wants to challenge me? The judge roared as he scanned the arena. I'll do it. A young man in his 20s jumped onto the battle arena. He registered and paid 50 spirit crystals. My cultivation is second stage martial master. Is there anyone who wants to spar with me? The young man scanned the arena and shouted, I'll spar with you. A muscular man jumped onto the battle arena and started fighting with the young man. However, he was defeated after a dozen moves. After that, more and more people went up to challenge him, but they were all defeated by the young man. Obviously, this young man was a genius with incredible strength. 5 people had been defeated by him in a row. 5 consecutive victories. The young man easily obtained 5 consecutive victories. Is there anyone else who wants to challenge me? The young man was in high spirits. However, no one went up for a while. After a while, an old woman finally jumped onto the battle arena. We want to test your strength, the judge said. The old woman nodded and followed the judge into a stone door at the side. After 5 consecutive victories, the DTON Martial Arena wouldn't allow anyone to challenge anyone. They would test each opponent's strength. Those who weren't strong enough weren't qualified to challenge anyone. Otherwise, as long as someone colluded with a group of people, they could easily win the battle and obtain the reward. If that was the case, the DTON Martial Arena would suffer a huge loss. Furthermore, if that was the case, there wouldn't be anything worth watching. Chapter 241. Therefore, only those who passed the test and were strong enough could go up to challenge. Or, those who had historical records in the DTON Martial Arena, such as those who had won 6 consecutive battles, could go up to challenge those who were about to win 6 consecutive battles. There was no need to take the test. Not long after, the old woman passed the test and appeared on the stage. Kill! Kill! The spectators in the spectator stands roared and looked at the stage with anticipation. They needed to see a bloody battle. Only then would it be exciting. Kill! On the stage, the young man and the old woman were stirred up by the surrounding atmosphere. They roared and charged at each other. The young man used a sword, while the old woman used a slender saber. The two of them engaged in an intense battle. The old woman's saber technique was extremely sharp and experienced. Her attacks were ruthless. In just 20 moves, the young man was no match for her. Just as the young man was about to admit defeat, the old woman's saber light suddenly sped up. Poochie! Before the young man could say anything, his head was chopped off by the old woman's saber light. Good! Exciting! The spectator stands were in an uproar. They were extremely excited. You killed this person and replaced him to win 6 consecutive battles. Now, do you still want to continue? On the stage, the judge asked the old woman. Continue, the old woman said. This old woman was very powerful. It was obvious that she had cultivated for many years. Her mastery of martial arts was very high. She won 3 consecutive battles, and then 3 consecutive battles. She had won 9 consecutive battles. At this moment, the old woman shook her head, indicating that she didn't want to continue. The more she challenged, the stronger the people below would be. She wasn't confident anymore. The spectators were disappointed. They naturally wanted to continue watching because the further down the stage, the more exciting the battle would be. The old woman received 1,000 spirit crystals and left the stage. Who wants to challenge next? The judge's voice echoed throughout the arena. I'll go and have some fun. At this moment, Lu Ming stood up and smiled. Big brother Tianyun, are you going to make a move? Ming Peek's eyes were filled with excitement. Miangcheng was also looking forward to it. They weren't worried about Lu Ming at all. They didn't believe that Lu Ming would lose in a battle of the same level. Lu Ming smiled. He strode forward and went up to the fighting ring. When the judge saw that someone had stepped onto the stage, he smiled and said, "Little brother, please register your cultivation and pay the fee." Lu Ming nodded and took out 50 spirit crystals to register. I am a 6th-level martial master. Who wants to fight me? Lu Ming scanned the surroundings. His voice was not loud, but it spread throughout the entire area. What? 6th-level martial master? So young? Most of the spectators in the stands were shocked. The spectators in the stands came from all over the imperial capital. Most of them did not know Lu Ming. Could it be a top genius from the 5 great sects? Someone muttered. For a moment, no one went up. The younger they were, the higher their cultivation. Generally, they were geniuses and their combat strength was difficult to measure. They didn't want to die in vain. I know him. His name is Tianyun, a peerless genius from the Star General Hall. He is extremely powerful. Half a month ago, in the Blood Ant's secret realm, he killed Yang Zaiyan, a peerless genius from the Shifang sword sect. He snatched the storage rings of most of the disciples of the Shifang sword sect alone. Someone shouted, "It's him? So he is Tianyun." There were exclamations in the stands. In the past half a month, Tianyun's name had spread throughout the imperial capital. The incident in the Blood Ant's secret realm had also spread throughout the imperial capital. How can such a genius fight in a battle of the same level? Yes, someone sighed. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. He didn't expect that being too famous was not a good thing. Now, no one even wanted to fight. Who wants to fight me? Lu Ming shouted again. But still, no one went up. After a while, a burly man stood up and said, "Young Master Tianyun, I will fight with you, but we will only spar. How about it?" Okay. Lu Ming was overjoyed and quickly agreed. He wasn't a bloodthirsty person. He didn't have to fight to the death. As long as someone went up, he would be satisfied. The burly man moved and went up to the fighting ring, standing opposite Lu Ming. This is going to be interesting. The spectators in the stands were looking forward to it. Although Tianyun's name had spread throughout the imperial capital recently, there were still very few who had seen Lu Ming fight with their own eyes. Naturally, everyone was looking forward to it. A large saber appeared in the middle-aged man's hand as he looked at Lu Ming cautiously. Lu Ming stood calmly with a long spear in his hand. Bang! The middle-aged burly man didn't hesitate and launched an attack. As soon as he attacked, he slashed out 18 times in a row, each faster than the last. The saber light whistled and blocked Lu Ming's path. Lu Ming wasn't in a hurry to attack. He used the high air steps and his figure flashed, leaving the range of the burly man's attack. Again, the burly man roared and attacked like a tide. Layers of snow-white saber light attacked Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming's face was calm and indifferent. His body was like moving clouds and flowing water. He swayed slightly, causing the burly man's saber light to miss. Whoosh! Suddenly, the long spear in Lu Ming's hand stabbed at the burly man's saber light. With such a casual stab, the burly man's saber light disappeared, and his body was like a thug. How could this be? The burly man shouted. Lu Ming didn't use much strength. He just casually stabbed with his spear, and his saber art was broken. He found it hard to accept. Your saber art is a lower profound level saber art. It should be a combination of hardness and softness. However, you blindly pursued speed and power, which made it inferior. Therefore, your saber art has been stuck at the 4th level. It's difficult to break through the 5th level. Lu Ming enunciated each word slowly. However, when the middle-aged man heard this, it was like a bolt from the blue. He was stunned. His eyes kept flickering as if he was thinking about something. After a while, the middle-aged man was overjoyed. He suddenly slashed out with the saber in his hand. In an instant, 27 saber lights appeared. They were extremely dazzling and stronger than before. Haha, my saber art is broken through. The middle-aged man laughed, and then looked at Lu Ming. He suddenly cupped his fist and bowed deeply. Thank you, young Master Tianyun, for your guidance. Otherwise, I don't know when my saber art would have broken through. Young Master Tianyun is a genius. I admire you so much. You're welcome. It's your own comprehension that allowed you to break through. I was just throwing a brick to attract more jade. Lu Ming smiled slightly. Now, Lu Ming had even succeeded in cultivating an earth-level martial art. Naturally, his vision was different. The middle-aged man only cultivated a lower profound-level martial art. Although Lu Ming didn't cultivate saber art, his vision was there for all to see. When the middle-aged man attacked continuously, Lu Ming saw the weaknesses and shortcomings of his saber art. He casually gave a few pointers. He didn't expect the middle-aged man's saber art to break through in one fell swoop. No matter what, I'm very grateful for young Master Tianyun's kindness. The middle-aged man bowed again and then turned to leave the fighting ring. It was obvious that he had admitted defeat. The audience in the stands was dumbfounded. How could this be? Chapter 242. The old man looked at Lu Ming expectantly. Lu Ming was young, but his understanding of martial arts was shockingly high. Just now, he had given the burly man a few pointers and helped him break through. This made the old man's heart burn with excitement. Nestle, Xiang Mu is too cunning. He actually beat me to it. Damn it, don't fight with me. It's my turn next. Your turn? Why? Young Master Tianyun uses a long spear, and so do I. It's my turn for the next match. It's my turn. On the spectator stand, several sixth-layer martial master experts began to fight. The others were dumbfounded. These people were fighting to challenge Lu Ming, not because Lu Ming was too weak, but because he was too strong. Such a thing was unheard of. Lu Ming himself was in a daze. However, he was not worried that no one would accept his challenge. Please. Lu Ming cupped his fists and said to the old man, Please enlighten me. The old man cupped his fists and a long sword appeared. Swoosh. The sword light pierced through the air and charged toward Lu Ming. Just like before, Lu Ming did not rush to fight back. He dodged the attack with his movement skill while observing the old man's swordsmanship. After more than 30 moves, Lu Ming's casual spear attack broke the old man's swordsmanship and forced him to retreat. However, the old man was not depressed. Instead, he looked at Lu Ming with excitement and hope. Lu Ming pondered for a while and explained the flaws of the old man's swordsmanship according to what he had observed and his own understanding. After listening, the elder savored it carefully. He was ecstatic and his face was full of excitement. He bowed respectfully to Lu Ming and said, Thank you for your guidance, young Master Tanya. Senior, you're welcome, Lu Ming said with a smile. Then, the old man walked down the fighting ring with satisfaction. Mr. Tianyun, I'm here to learn from you. As soon as the old man walked down the fighting ring, a burly man rushed up. It's my turn. On the other side, someone also rushed up the fighting ring. It's my turn. Get out of here. You're the one who should get out. The two of them roared with killing intent and were about to start a fight. The surrounding crowd was dumbstruck, and so was Lu Ming. Stop. If you want to challenge him, come one by one. Otherwise, you're disqualified. The judge shouted with a speechless expression. He had been in charge of the Dtion battle arena for many years, but this was the first time he had encountered such a situation. Judge, I'm the one who challenged? The burly man shouted. Nonsense, it's me. The other person didn't back down either. All right, you go first. You're the last one. The referee's face darkened as he pointed at the middle-aged man. The burly man was burly man. The other person stood at the side, unwilling. The burly man jumped onto the fighting ring and cupped his fists at Lu Ming. He said respectfully, Mr. Tianyun, I also use a spear. Please give me some pointers. A long spear appeared in the burly man's hand. Please. Lu Ming smiled. Instantly, the middle-aged burly man collected his thoughts and shook his long spear. More than 10 spear flowers appeared in the air. Beams of spear gleams shot toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming did the same and dodged dozens of attacks. He allowed the burly man to use his strongest martial skill and defeated him easily. He pointed out his weakness. The burly man was overjoyed and left with gratitude. Then, the other person went up and Lu Ming did the same. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming won 5 consecutive battles. However, Lu Ming's 5-match winning streak was completely different from others. Every time his opponents lost, they would leave after thanking him profusely. Anything can happen to this Tianyun. Myongcheng sighed. Ming Peak nodded in agreement. After 5 consecutive victories, it was time for the 6th battle. A famous expert went up for the 6th battle. This expert had won 6 consecutive battles in the Dtion battle arena. With such a record, he didn't need to be tested and could directly fight. However, this person was still very polite to Lu Ming. He knew that he wasn't a match for Lu Ming. He came up with the intention of asking Lu Ming for pointers. Mr. Tianyun, please give me some pointers. This person was also very polite. Lu Ming nodded. In the end, there was naturally no suspense. Lu Ming defeated his opponent easily and gave him some pointers. 6 consecutive victories, 7 consecutive victories, 8 consecutive victories. Soon, Lu Ming won 10 consecutive battles. His 10 consecutive victories were easily won, and he didn't even injure a single person. Tianyun, you have won 10 consecutive battles. If you continue, you will have to challenge an expert of the 7th stage of the Martial Master realm. Do you still want to continue? The judge looked at Lu Ming and asked. Continue. Lu Ming nodded without hesitation. The audience was filled with anticipation. How much could Lu Ming achieve by challenging someone of a higher stage? How many consecutive victories could he achieve? The Dtion battle arena wouldn't allow an ordinary 7th stage martial master to challenge someone of a higher stage. Those who went up would definitely be experts of the 7th stage. All right. The judge nodded and looked around. Is there a 7th stage martial master realm expert who wants to challenge Tianyun? Let me. Just as the judge finished speaking, a young man in his 30s stood up and went up the stage. Yang Tai, you can directly fight. When the judge saw this young man, he didn't let him test his strength. It was obvious that this person was quite famous in the Dtion battle arena and was recognized by the judge. Tianyun, go ahead. I'm not someone those 6th-stage martial master realm experts can compare to. Yang Tai was very confident as he looked at Lu Ming. Please. Lu Ming smiled. Boom. Yang Tai exploded with all his strength. The long spear in his hand emitted a bright light as it pierced towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming's long spear shook and the body of the spear vibrated. There was a terrifying fluctuation in the air and a terrifying shock wave charged toward Yang Tai. Bang! Yang Tai was hit by the shock wave and his body was like a cannonball. He was sent flying and heavily fell off the stage. CSI, the entire arena was filled with gasps. One move, just one move. He didn't even use any martial skills. He just shook his spear and sent Yang Tai flying off the stage. Strength, powerful strength. In the previous 10 matches, Lu Ming was very polite. He defeated his opponent after a few dozen moves and didn't show any powerful strength. This made some people forget about Lu Ming's strength. Now, they finally remembered that Lu Ming's strength was extremely terrifying. Yang Tai struggled to get up and looked at Lu Ming in shock before he staggered away. Then, the challenges continued. Consecutive wins, an unstoppable winning streak. In less than an hour, Lu Ming had already obtained 7 consecutive wins. The entire arena was filled with excited discussions. 7 wins in a row. Do you guys think Tianyun can achieve 10 wins in a row? It's hard to say. At this stage, the Dtion battle arena won't be able to sit still and will send out a true expert. Until now, the Dtion battle arena hasn't sent out a death fighter. Chapter 243. There were 2 main types of challenges. One was to pick an opponent on the spot. If there were no challengers, the Dtion fighting arena would send out experts. The Dtion fighting arena's strength was unfathomable. Naturally, they had raised a group of experts. The experts sent out by the Dtion fighting arena were known as death fighters. Just from the name, one would know that death fighters were powerful people who didn't fear death. When they attacked, there would definitely be blood. Tianyun, Wait a moment, the judge said to Lu Ming. Lu Ming nodded. At the highest point of the DTon fighting arena, there was a luxurious room. There was a window in the room that allowed one to see the entire DTon fighting arena. At this moment, there were a few old men watching. This Tianyun is very powerful. It's time to send out a death fighter. One of the old men in black said. That's right. However, normal death fighters are definitely not Tianyun's match. I suggest that we let number 18 go first. If number 18 can't win, number 17 will go. Another old man said. I agree. I agree too. The other old men nodded. Then, they passed down the order. Not long after, a tall and muscular man with scars all over his body rushed onto the fighting arena. The man's body was filled with killing intent. His eyes were like that of a wild beast as he stared at Lu Ming. There were 2 words carved on the man's face. Number 18. Number 18. It's the DTon fighting arena's death fighter. Number 18. When the audience saw this man, they all exclaimed. Rumor has it that within the death fighters of the DTon battle arena, only those with extremely strong battle strength have the qualifications to carve words on their faces. Rumor has it that within the DTon battle arena, there are 5 strongest people within the 7th layer of the Martial Master realm. They are respectively from 16 to 20. It seems like the DTon fighting arena values Tianyun a lot. Nonsense. If Tianyun were to win 10 times in a row, he would have to pay 90,000 spirit crystals. How could the DTon fighting arena let Tianyun win so easily? That's true. Amazing. The 10 spiritual crystals I spent today were worth it. I bet those who didn't come will regret it to death. Lu Ming's gaze shifted slightly as he looked at 18. Lu Ming felt a strong, murderous aura from the other party. DTon's gladiator? Things are finally getting interesting. The corners of Lu Ming's mouth curled up into a smile, and a hint of battle intent appeared in his eyes. Tianyun, you have to be careful. 18 won't show any mercy. For a genius like Lu Ming, the referee was quite kind and gave him a reminder. Thank you, Lu Ming said with a smile. All right, let's begin, the referee announced. Roar. Following the referee's announcement, 18 let out a beast-like roar. With a wave of her hand, a meteor hammer appeared in her hand. The meteor hammer emitted a terrifying whistling sound as it bombarded Lu Ming. The meteor hammer was a strange weapon. It was very difficult to master, but once it was mastered, its power was also very strong. The meteor hammer was really like a meteor as it bombarded Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming didn't dodge. Instead, he stabbed out with his spear. Ding! The tip of the spear accurately pierced the meteor hammer, producing a deafening sound. The spear didn't move at all, but the meteor hammer flew back at an even faster speed than before. 18's ferocious expression changed drastically. He leaped into the air and dodged the meteor hammer. The meteor hammer smashed into the battle stage, causing a loud explosion. If it wasn't for the fact that the battle stage was protected by the DTon battle stage's experts, the battle stage would have exploded. 18's combat strength is probably comparable to an ordinary LV8 martial grandmaster. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. However, an ordinary LV8 martial grandmaster was nothing in front of Lu Ming. Whoosh! After that, Lu Ming took a step forward. Like a ghost, he appeared in front of 18 and swept his spear at her. Boom! 18 used the iron chain to block, but it was useless. Lu Ming's spear directly hit her body. She flew hundreds of meters away with the meteor hammer before stopping. Victory! Tianyun won. It was a clean victory. The audience looked at Lu Ming in shock. They weren't surprised that Lu Ming won. However, they were shocked that Lu Ming won so easily. At the highest point of DTon's gladiator arena, a few elders were watching with sparkling eyes. This Tianyun is definitely a peerless genius. He's a demon-level peerless genius. Only other peerless geniuses who are 1 level higher than him can fight with him. It's hard for others to stop him. An elder sighed. That's right. This Tianyun, I feel that he hasn't used most of his strength. Even if 16 goes up, she won't be his match. Then let him win 10 times in a row? Of course. This is a good thing. When the time comes, we'll be the ones to earn the most. Haha, that's right. Let's let 17 and 16 go up. Not only were the elders not unhappy, but their faces were filled with joy. Next, a man with the number 17 carved on his face went up. He was still no match for Lu Ming. 9 wins in a row. After 9 wins, a lady in her 20s went up. This lady had the number 16 carved on her face. This lady was much stronger than 17 and 18. She had actually comprehended the force. Unfortunately, compared to young Zaiyan, she was still a lot weaker. She wasn't Lu Ming's match at all. Lu Ming unleashed his fire force and defeated his opponent easily. 10 wins in a row. Lu Ming won 10 times in a row. According to the rules, he would be rewarded with 90,000 spiritual crystals. Tianyun, do you want to continue? The judge looked at Lu Ming and asked. At this moment, everyone's eyes were on Lu Ming. Their eyes were filled with anticipation. If he continued, he would have to fight someone 2 levels above him. Although it was rare to win 10 times in a row, there would still be one every once in a while. However, it was rare to be able to win against someone 2 levels above him. If he could win 10 times in a row, he would be rewarded with 100,000 spiritual crystals. For every additional win, he would be rewarded with another 100,000 spiritual crystals. How tempting was that? However, there were only a few people who could get it. The current 6 heroes of the Burning Sun Empire were all geniuses who had won 2 times in a row. Among the 6 heroes, 5 of them had won 4 times in a row. Only Qiu Changkong, the leader of the 6 heroes, the peerless genius of the 10 Directions Sword faction, had managed to achieve a record of 7 consecutive victories. This was the highest record in the Burning Sun Empire in the past 100 years. Would Tianyun accept it? I choose to continue, Lu Ming said without hesitation. 10 wins in a row for only 90,000 spiritual crystals was too little. Lu Ming's goal was to win 2 levels above him. Those rewards were what tempted Lu Ming. He wouldn't miss it. Whoosh! The scene was in an uproar. Everyone was excited. Tianyun had agreed to continue the challenge. There would be a good show to watch. Challenging someone 2 levels higher was not something that could be seen often. It was extremely rare. Seeing that Lu Ming had agreed, a happy smile appeared on the referee's face. He said, Tianyun, we need to arrange for people to challenge someone 2 levels above us. We can't do it immediately. We have to do it in 3 days. Are you willing? Chapter 244. Alright, let's continue the challenge 3 days later. The judge revealed a happy smile and clasped his fists to the crowd. Everyone, the day after tomorrow will be the Dtion Auction House's half-yearly auction. I hope that everyone will be able to attend. Today's challenge shall end here. Auction house? Lu Ming was startled and showed a hint of interest. Then, he walked down the fighting stage. Brother Tianyun, I admire you more and more. Do your best 3 days later and break the record of the 6 heroes of the Scorching Sun Empire. Your name will spread throughout the Scorching Sun Empire. Ming Feng couldn't wait to run over and said excitedly as soon as he got off the fighting ring. Lu Ming smiled. Among the 6 heroes, the other 5 had achieved 4 consecutive victories with a gap of 2 levels. Qiu Changkong had achieved 7 consecutive victories with a gap of 2 levels. Could he break through? To be honest, Lu Ming didn't have the confidence. Sometimes, it depended on luck. If he was 2 levels higher and encountered a genius like the 6 heroes of the Scorching Sun Empire, it would be difficult for him to win. Lu Ming shook his head and didn't think too much about it. The 3 of them left the arena and walked towards the Star General Hall. Brother Tianyun, are you going to the Dtion auction the day after tomorrow? Ming Peak asked. Of course. Lu Ming smiled. Then let's go together. Call my sister, Ming Peak said. Lu Ming nodded and said, Myongqing, Ming Peak, you guys go back first. I still have something to do. All right. Myongqing and Ming Peak nodded and returned to the Star General Hall. Lu Ming, on the other hand, walked toward the market. The Dtion auction was considered a side business of the Dtion fighting arena. It would not be held frequently. Usually, it would be held once every half a year. However, every time it was held, there would be many precious treasures. Lu Ming was quite tempted. But now, he had less than 200,000 spirit crystals. It was too little. If he encountered a treasure that he liked and didn't have enough spirit crystals to buy it, wouldn't he vomit blood? Therefore, Lu Ming planned to sell all the miscellaneous items that he had with him. Lu Ming had all sorts of refining materials, spirit grasses, pills, spirit weapons, and quite a few cultivation methods and martial techniques piled up into a mountain. Lu Ming didn't have much use for them. He planned to sell them all. After arriving at the market square, Lu Ming walked into the shops one by one, selling a portion of each shop. 3 hours later, Lu Ming sold all the items. More than 300,000 spiritual crystals. Those things were sold for 300,000 spiritual crystals in total. Together with the spiritual crystals he had before, he had almost 500,000 spiritual crystals. 500,000 yuan was more or less enough. After that, Lu Ming returned to the dormitory. The next day, a piece of news spread throughout the imperial capital, and it was spreading like wildfire. The Star General Hall's peerless prodigy, Tianyun, was going to challenge someone 2 ranks above him in the Tian martial arena. He had hopes of breaking the record of the 6 heroes of the Scorching Sun Empire. The news caused an uproar as soon as it was spread. Challenging the record of the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun tribe? No one had been able to do it in the past few years. Countless people were discussing and guessing. Lu Ming naturally heard the news as well. Lu Ming immediately thought of the Tian martial arena. This piece of news must have been released by the Tian martial arena. There was no other reason other than the fact that they wanted more people to spectate the battle 3 days later. That way, how many spiritual crystals could the Tian martial arena earn? Lu Ming smiled bitterly. This Tian martial arena was too good at seizing the opportunity to earn money. However, Lu Ming didn't mind. A day passed quickly. The next day, Lu Ming, Ming Chun, Ming Peak, and Pearl walked towards the Tian auction house together. The Tian auction house wasn't far from the Tian martial arena. Young Master Tianyun, you are a VIP. Please follow me to the VIP room. When Lu Ming and the others arrived at the Tian auction house, a beautiful young lady welcomed Lu Ming. VIP room? Lu Ming and the others were stunned. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He guessed that this was the Tian martial arena's arrangement. Of course, he wouldn't reject it. The 4 of them followed the young lady and arrived at a VIP room. The Tian auction house was split into 2 parts. One was the main hall, where ordinary bidders sat. On the second level above the main hall, there were many VIP rooms that surrounded the main hall. The VIP rooms were elegant and had tea, fruits, and snacks. It was comfortable and peaceful. Those who could enter the VIP rooms represented their status. Lu Ming and the others walked into VIP room number 7. They sat in the VIP room and looked outside through the glass. The main hall was bustling with voices. There were at least 50,000 people. Furthermore, the number of people was still increasing. There are so many people. Ming Peak looked outside excitedly. The treasures later are the most important. Even if we can't afford them, it's still good to broaden our horizons. Pearl smiled. She looked at Lu Ming with a complicated expression. She understood that if it wasn't for Lu Ming, how could the 3 of them have the qualifications to enter the VIP room? Half a year ago, she had also been here, but she was only in the main hall. After a while, an old man in a white robe walked up to the high platform in front of the main hall. The main hall quietened down. I am Du Ji, the host of this auction. Thank you for coming. Now, the auction officially begins. First, let's welcome the first auction item. The white-robed old man said loudly. Following which, a beautiful lady with graceful curves carried a jade plate. On the jade plate, there was a piece of red metal. Everyone, I'm sure you've already seen that this is a piece of red rock spiritual iron. It's an excellent material for refining level 4 spiritual weapons. Now, the starting price is 10,000 spiritual crystals. Every bid must be at least 1,000 spiritual crystals. Duji announced, 10,000 spirit crystals? So expensive. Ming Peak was speechless. This is a material that can be used to refine level 4 spiritual weapons. Of course it's expensive, Pearl said. As soon as Duji finished speaking, someone immediately made a bid. I'll pay 11,000 spirit crystals. I'll pay 12,000 spirit crystals. Slowly, the price increased. In the end, It was bought by an old man at 22,000 spirit crystals. Next, there is a bottle of elixir. It is very useful for warriors in the great martial minter realm. The starting price is 800 spirit crystals. Each bid must be at least 100 spirit crystals. Then, it was time for the second auction item. It was impossible for every item to be as expensive as the first one. It would easily cost tens of thousands of spiritual crystals. Warriors below the martial arts grandmaster realm would not be able to afford it. I'll pay 1,000 spirit crystals. I'll pay 1,100 spirit crystals. Soon, some warriors in the great martial minter realm began to bid. Lu Ming watched while drinking tea. Lu Ming was not interested in elixirs that could increase the cultivation of great martial minter realm. This kind of elixir was useful for ordinary warriors, but for him, it was not very useful. It was far less effective than buying monster cores to refine. However, the others were different. They didn't have a heaven-defying bloodline like the spirit-devouring bloodline. Thus, pills that could increase one's cultivation were extremely rare for them. Soon, the price of this bottle of elixir was pushed to 2,000 spirit crystals. 2,100 spirit crystals. Pearl also began to bid. His eyes were full of desire. 2,200 spirit crystals. However, someone immediately added on 2,300 spirit crystals. 2,500 spirit crystals. The price continued to rise. Chapter 245. 3,000 crystals. Suddenly, a clear voice rang out and spread throughout the hall. Pearl was stunned because the voice belonged to Lu Ming. Lu Ming wants this bottle of pills? Since Lu Ming had made a bid, all the more Mingzhu would not do so. 3,100. In the hall, someone continued to bid. 4,000 crystals. Lu Ming smiled faintly and increased the price to 4,000 spirit crystals. The hall fell silent. Lu Ming bid without hesitation and increased the bid by 900 crystals. Obviously, he was determined to win. Pearl, Myongcheng, and Ming Peak were also surprised. Although this bottle of elixir was not bad, it was only effective for low-level martial masters. Given Lu Ming's cultivation, it was unlikely to be of much use. He did not know why Lu Ming was so interested in it. Is there anyone else who wants to bid? Du Ji asked. No one bid. Then, Du Ji asked 3 times, but no one bid. This bottle of pills naturally belonged to Lu Ming. After a while, a beautiful girl brought the pills in. Lu Ming took out 4,000 crystals and gave it to the girl. Pearl, this bottle of pills is for you. Lu Ming took the pills and handed them to Pearl. For me? Pearl was stunned. Myongcheng and Ming Peak were also stunned. The pills that Lu Ming bid just now were for Pearl? I saw that you wanted it, so I bid for it and gave it to you. Lu Ming smiled faintly. No, I can't accept such a precious pill. Although Pearl wanted it very much, he still hurriedly refused. You're welcome. It's just a bottle of pills. Lu Ming smiled. Sister, just accept it. Don't waste Brother Tianyun's good intentions. Ming Feng said with a grin. He blinked his eyes at Ming Zhu with all his might. His eyes were filled with an inexplicable smile. Yes, second sister, just accept it. Myongcheng smiled like a sly old fox. Pearl's face suddenly turned red. No one knew what she was thinking. Her big eyes were watery, and her voice was as soft as a mosquito. Thank you, young Master Tianyun. Then, she took the bottle in Lu Ming's hand, and her eyes were full of joy. On the side, Myongcheng and Ming Peak grinned. They looked at Lu Ming and Pearl and nodded from time to time. What are you laughing at? Lu Ming looked at the two of them speechlessly. He didn't think too much about it. He just bought it because Pearl wanted it. He didn't ask for a lot of spirit crystals. He just wanted to thank Pearl for helping him when he entered the Star General Hall. The auction continued. One item after another was auctioned off. Some were extremely rare, and the price went up to tens of thousands of spirit crystals. Some were only a few hundred spirit crystals. However, Lu Ming was a little disappointed. These items were of no use to him, and he wasn't interested in them. Myongcheng and Ming Peak took a fancy to a few items and participated in the auction. Soon, more than 100 items fell into the hands of different people. The next item is the last item of this auction. Of course, it's also the most precious item. At this moment, Duji said in a clear voice, "The finale item is about to be auctioned." The atmosphere in the auction house suddenly surged. In every auction, there would be a finale item. It was definitely a rare and precious item. Lu Ming was also a little interested. Duji smiled in satisfaction when he saw the atmosphere in the auction house rising. He clapped his hands and a young girl walked up with a jade plate. The jade plate was covered with golden silk gauze. It was impossible to see what was inside. If you want to know about this treasure today, you have to know its function. As everyone knows, although the physical body is not the foundation of martial arts practice, it is still an extremely important auxiliary path. Those with a strong physical body not only have strong vitality and amazing recovery ability, but also can greatly enhance the martial arts practitioner's combat strength. There are even many other wonderful uses. Duji explained the uses of the physical body. Could it be a treasure that can help in the cultivation of the physical body? Lu Ming's interest was immediately aroused. Many people in the auction house were also looking forward to it. Duji smiled and continued, "However, the cultivation of the physical body is extremely difficult. It's very slow and exhausting to rely on cultivation techniques to cultivate slowly. However, there are also shortcuts. There are many treasures in the world that can quickly temper the physical body and increase the strength of the physical body in a short period of time. These treasures have different effects." Duji didn't seem to be in a hurry and explained slowly. However, the others were holding back and immediately shouted, "What kind of treasure is it? Tell us." "Yes, what is it? Let's open it and see." Duji smiled and continued, "If you want to know, it's very simple. I'll ask you a question and you'll know. Among the treasures in the world, what is the treasure that has the greatest effect on the physical body? What treasure has the greatest effect on the physical body? Of course, it's the connate original liquid. Why? You don't have the connate original liquid here, do you?" A voice rang out, sounding somewhat incredulous. The auction house suddenly fell silent. Some were shocked, but then they secretly shook their heads. Connate original liquid? How was that possible? It was said that the connate original liquid was a treasure that gathered the essence of the world and was born after millions or even tens of millions of years. Many of the connate original liquid were even born at the beginning of the world. It was very helpful to the physical body and was known as the best in the world. Of course, the connate original liquid was also divided into different grades. According to the different effects, it was divided into 4 grades: low grade, medium grade, high grade, and supreme grade. However, even if it was a low-grade Sciention origin liquid, it was still a rare and precious treasure. The fire spirit milk that Lu Ming obtained back then could also be used to refine the physical body, but it was trash compared to the connate original liquid. Ha ha ha, this friend is right. This treasure is the connate original liquid. Duji laughed out loud. What? This time, the auction house was in an uproar. It was actually the connate original liquid, which exceeded everyone's expectations. How is that possible? It's actually the connate original liquid. Get it, I must get it. Countless people shouted with blazing flames in their eyes. They looked at the tray in the hands of the girl on the high platform and wanted to take it for themselves. In the 7th VIP room, Lu Ming's eyes were also burning. Myongqing and his siblings were so shocked that their mouths were wide open. Duji was very satisfied with the crowd's reaction. The more enthusiastic the crowd was, the higher the price would be later. Duji stretched out his hand and said, "Quiet down first." The auction house suddenly fell silent. Although this treasure is the connate original liquid, it's only the low grade and there's not a lot of it. Duji said. Everyone nodded. It was normal that it was the low grade. How could a medium-grade connate original liquid appear in the Burning Sun Empire? Even if it appeared, not many people could afford it. At this moment, Duji stretched out his hand and removed the gauze on the tray, revealing a red stone ball. This is the connate original liquid? Chapter 246. Duji smiled and explained, "The Sciention original liquid is sealed in this stone orb. There aren't many of them, only 9 drops. 9 drops? That's enough. Someone whispered. On the other hand, there were people who looked excited. The Sciention original liquid was too precious. If there were too many of them, not many people could afford it. But if there were only 9 drops, they could give it a try. Moreover, even if there were only 9 drops, the effect would be amazing. I'm going to get these 9 drops of Sciention original liquid. Lu Ming looked at the stone orb with determination. His physical body had been stuck at the perfect grade 2 for a long time. As long as he could get these 9 drops of Sciention original liquid, his physical body would definitely improve by leaps and bounds. It would be easy for him to break through to the 3rd grade. If that was the case, his battle prowess would have a huge increase. 9 drops of Sciention original liquid. The elders of the Dtion fighting ground have studied it, and there's no mistake. Alright, let's start the auction. The starting price for each drop of Sciention original liquid is 10,000 spiritual crystals. The starting price for 9 drops is 90,000 spiritual crystals. Every bid must be at least 5,000 spiritual crystals. Duji announced. CSI. Many people gasped and looked dejected. Although they had expected it, they were still shocked when they heard the starting price. 90,000 spiritual crystals was enough to extinguish the fire in their hearts. 100,000 spiritual crystals. Although the price was high, it wasn't something that everyone couldn't afford. Someone immediately made a bid, and it came from a VIP room. From the voice of the 3rd VIP room, he seemed to be very young. 110,000. Immediately after, a rather old voice came from VIP room number 9. 120,000. A voice suddenly sounded in the hall. Everyone looked over and saw a tall and muscular man. 150,000. In VIP room number 3, the young voice sounded, but it was a little cold. 160,000. Immediately after, the 9th VIP room made a bid. In the hall, the muscular man's eyes flickered as he stared at the stone orb on the stage. His eyes were filled with unwillingness. But in the end, he let out a long sigh and gave up. 160,000 spiritual crystals had already exceeded all of his assets. He could only give up. 170,000. The 3rd VIP room continued to raise the price. 180,000. VIP room 9 did not give in at all. At this moment, Lu Ming did not bid. There was no need to bid now. It would be the same if he bid later. VIP room 3 and VIP room 9 were competing with each other. Soon, the price of the Sciention origin liquid had reached a high of 250,000. At that moment, the voice in VIP room number 3 was incomparably cold. At this moment, there were 5 young men sitting in VIP room 3. However, the expressions of the 5 young men did not look good. Where did this old man come from? He actually dares to compete with senior brother He Qiuming for treasures. He's courting death. A young man with a slightly pale face said with a murderous look. That's right. Looks like he doesn't know that we're disciples of the 10 Directions sword sect. Another person said coldly. Among the 5 people, the one sitting in the middle was a handsome young man in a blue robe. At this moment, his face was very cold. He frowned and looked at VIP room 9. Senior, I'm Qiuming, a disciple of the 10 Directions sword sect. These 9 drops of Sciention origin liquid are very useful to me. I hope you can give them to me. His words were very polite, but his voice was cold and filled with murderous intent. An extremely powerful aura spread out from VIP room 3. This was clearly a threat. A disciple of the 10 Directions sword sect? Everyone in the hall was shocked. Their eyes were filled with fear. You're from the Chiu family of the 10 Directions sword sect? The old voice came from VIP room 9. There was an old man sitting inside. At this moment, he was filled with fear. That's right. Qiuming replied coldly. Fine. I'll give these 9 drops of Sciention origin liquid to you young people. The old man in VIP room 9 pondered for a while and finally sighed. The 10 Directions sword sect was definitely a giant in the Blazing Sun Empire. Not many people dared to offend them. The old man's withdrawal made Qiuming smile. 250,000. 250,000. Any higher bids? Duji asked as he looked around. This is Sciention origin liquid. It's extremely rare in the world. In the Blazing Sun Empire, it's extremely useful to the physical body. If you miss this chance, you don't know when you'll get another chance. If you want it, hurry up and bid. 250,000. Are there any higher bids? Duji tried his best to tempt the crowd. He was very unhappy with Xiaoming's performance just now, so he naturally shouted to his heart's content, "This old man." Xiaoming gritted his teeth and glared at Duji. If looks could kill, Duji would have been pierced through. 300,000. Right at this moment, a clear and bright voice suddenly rang out and spread throughout the entire place, causing everyone's hearts to tremble. Someone had bid. After knowing that it was a disciple of the 10 Directions sword sect, he still dared to bid. Who was this person? Everyone's gaze immediately turned towards VIP room 7. That's right. The person who had bid was Lu Ming. Moreover, he increased the price by 50,000, pushing the price to 300,000. 300,000. All right, this friend bids 300,000. Is there anyone who wants to bid higher? Duji was overjoyed and announced. Bam! In VIP room 3, Xiaoming slammed his palm on the table and broke it into pieces. His face was extremely gloomy. Where did this brat come from? How dare he bid when he knows that we're disciples of the 10 Directions sword sect? Is he courting death? The pale young man roared, and his voice echoed throughout the hall. I bid 300,000 spiritual crystals. Are you going to bid or not? Lu Ming curled his lips and said calmly, You're courting death. Xiaoming finally couldn't take it anymore and shouted coldly, Brat, I'll give you 5 breaths to withdraw your bid. Otherwise, I'll make sure you die a horrible death. If you have the money, pay up. If you don't, why are you still here? Scram. This was Lu Ming's reply. It was overbearing and domineering. The entire auction hall was shocked. This mysterious person was so overbearing that he even asked the 10 Directions sword sect to scram. You. Xiaoming's face turned pale. A powerful aura spread out and shrouded VIP room 7. Brat, I'll kill you now. Xiaoming roared. You can try me. Lu Ming replied in a domineering manner. Although Duji's cultivation was at the 8th grade martial master realm, why would Lu Ming be afraid of him? Die. Xiaoming roared as he walked out of the VIP room and was about to head to VIP room 3. How dare you? Suddenly, Duji furiously roared, and an extremely terrifying aura exploded out, crushing down on Xiaoming's body like a mountain. Xiaoming's body trembled, and he was unable to move. Martial Ancestor Realm. This is the aura of a martial ancestor realm. The entire hall was shocked. They didn't expect Duji, who looked so friendly, to be a martial ancestor realm expert. Old man, what are you doing? Are you courting death? I'm a disciple of the 10 Directions sword sect. Xiaoming roared. What bullshit 10 Directions sword sect? How dare you cause trouble at the DTon auction hall? Die. Chapter 247. Xiaoming shuddered violently. He was used to acting like a tyrant, and he had just casually shouted. At this moment, he finally recalled that this was the DTon auction house, and Duji was a member of the DTon Divine Palace. Even if he killed Duji, the Decimo sword sect would definitely not dare to say a word. Thinking of this, Xiaoming's body stiffened as he broke out in cold sweat. Senior, I was wrong. I was too anxious just now. I hope Senior won't take offense. Xiaoming hurriedly shouted with a pleading face. Go back to your room. Duji yelled. Xiaoming was relieved as he hurried back to VIP room 3. Damn it. After Xiaoming returned to the VIP room, he let out a deep roar. His eyes were filled with cold killing intent. He had embarrassed himself just now and would definitely become a laughing stock. It was all thanks to Lu Ming. Investigate. I must find out who that kid is. I will burn his bones and scatter his ashes. Xiaoming roared. Senior brother Xiaoming, I know who he is. Suddenly, a young man who had been silent spoke. You know? Xiaoming looked at the young man. He is Tianyun from the Star General Hall. I will never forget his voice. The young man gritted his teeth and said, This young man was one of the 6 geniuses from the Decimo sword sect who had comprehended force in the Blood Ant's secret realm. Tianyun? It's him? Good, very good. I am here to kill him. Now, he dares to snatch the Xiantian original liquid from me. He brought this upon himself. Xiaoming said in a cold voice. Senior brother Xiaoming, in 2 days, Tian Yun will challenge someone 2 levels above him at the Dtian fighting ground. When that time comes, we will kill him and challenge the record of the 6 heroes of the Scorching Sun Empire. Dream on. The pale young man sneered. All right, we will let him live for 2 more days. We will let him have the 9 drops of Xiantian original liquid. When we kill him, the Xiantian original liquid will be mine. Xiaoming said coldly. 300,000 spiritual crystals. Is there anything higher than 300,000 spiritual crystals? In the hall, Duji continued to host the auction. Everyone was silent. This time, the auction was not targeted at martial ancestor realm experts. Most of them were great martial masters. 300,000 spiritual crystals was not a small amount even for a martial ancestor, let alone a martial grandmaster. Therefore, no one continued to bid. Duji asked 3 times, but no one bid. The 9 drops of Xiantian origin liquid were successfully obtained by Lu Ming. Lu Ming paid the spirit crystal and directly kept the stone into the Supreme Divine Palace. The auction finally came to an end. Lu Ming, Miangcheng, and the others returned to the Star General Hall. Then, Lu Ming entered the Temple of Paragon and took out the stone. The stone was about the size of a fist. As he held it in his hand, it emitted a shocking amount of essence energy. There were 9 drops of Xiantian original liquid sealed inside. Lu Ming did not hesitate. He held the stone in his hand and squeezed it with all his might. Kacha! The stone cracked open and an even denser essence chi permeated the air. Next, a drop of Xiantian origin liquid seeped out from the crack. The Xiantian origin liquid was as black as ink. It emitted a little bit of light. It was very magical. Lu Ming opened his mouth and sucked the drop of Xiantian origin liquid into his mouth. He put the rest of the Xiantian origin liquid into a jade box and circulated the raging flame vidraskill to refine it. The Xiantian origin liquid turned into an endless amount of essence chi and seeped into his muscles and bones. Under the raging flame vidraskill, Lu Ming's body continuously strengthened. Lu Ming's body's strength increased crazily. His body, which was stuck at the complete 2nd rank, also started to break through. 2 hours later, Lu Ming's body trembled. His bones made crackling sounds like beans being fried. His muscles wriggled continuously. After a long while, it finally calmed down. 3rd rank physical body. I have finally reached the initial rank 3 physical body. Lu Ming muttered. His face was full of joy. The Xiantian origin liquid was indeed the best body refining treasure in the world. Just a drop of lower-grade Xiantian origin liquid allowed Lu Ming's body to break through and reach the initial rank 3 physical body. Having reached the 3rd rank physical body, Lu Ming's explosive power had increased. His combat strength had also increased substantially. Continue, Lu Ming muttered. Then, he swallowed the 2nd drop of Xiantian origin liquid and began to refine it. It was more difficult to improve the 3rd rank physical body than the 2nd rank physical body. However, with the help of the Xiantian origin liquid, Lu Ming's body was still improving rapidly. More than a day later, Lu Ming had cultivated the raging flame vidraskill to the complete realm. In other words, Lu Ming's body had reached the complete rank 3 physical body. The 8 drops of Xiantian origin liquid had also been completely refined. If I want to continue to improve the grade of my body, I have to find a more advanced body refining technique. Lu Ming pondered. The raging flame vidraskill could only cultivate the body to the complete rank 3 physical body. This was already the limit. What a strong physical strength. My combat strength has increased by at least 30% compared to before. Lu Ming's eyes were extremely bright. At this moment, his expression changed as he heard a soft knock on the door. With a thought, he walked out of the Temple of Paragon and opened the door. It was Miangcheng and his siblings. Brother Tianyun, today is your challenge, Ming Peak said hurriedly. Lu Ming slapped his head. He had been so engrossed in refining the Xiantian origin liquid that he had almost forgotten about the time. Let's go. The 4 of them immediately rushed to the Dtian fighting ground. At this moment, the Dtian fighting ground was already filled with people. All the seats were occupied. It could be described as a sea of people. There were no less than 300,000 people. Every person had to pay 10 spiritual crystals as an entrance fee. The DTON Fighting Grounds income today was no less than 3 million spiritual crystals. It was terrifying. However, at this moment, the DTON Fighting Ground was in an uproar. Why isn't Tianyun here yet? What's going on? Could it be that he's not coming? No, I've come here for nothing. I'll refund the spiritual crystals. I'm not going to watch this. I gave up on a mission to come here. Is he going to scam me? In the crowd, Xiao Ming and the others stood there with ugly expressions on their faces. Could it be that Tianyun knows that he offended senior brother Xiao Ming in the previous auction and doesn't dare to come? I think that's the case. A few disciples from the 10 Direction Sword Sect discussed loudly. This time, the 10 Direction Sword Sect had sent over a dozen disciples. The higher-ups of the DTON Fighting Ground. A few elders from the DTON Fighting Ground frowned as they looked down. What's wrong with Tianya? Why isn't he here yet? I've already sent someone to fetch him. A few elders discussed softly. Suddenly, an old man's expression changed. He smiled and said, Tianyun, you're here. At this moment, Tianyun walked through the entrance of the DTON Fighting Ground and walked towards the fighting stage. Tianyun is here. It was unknown who shouted, but the entire place quietened down. A few 100,000 pairs of eyes looked towards the entrance. Lu Ming walked in front with big steps. Myongqing and his siblings followed behind him. Haha, Tianyun is here. It seems like he's delayed by something. With his talent, how can he not come? Who said that Tianyun is afraid and doesn't dare to come? You're really measuring the heart of a gentleman with your own mean measure. Everyone was excited, but a few disciples from the 10 Direction Sword Sect had ugly expressions. Chapter 248. Humph, it's good that you're here. You're still going to die. Xiao Ming said with a gloomy face. Myongqing and his siblings went to the stands while Lu Ming went to the center of the fighting ring. All eyes were on Lu Ming, who was in the fighting ring. All right, now, Tianyun's 2-level challenge officially begins. Who wants to come up and fight? The judge announced loudly. I'll have a try. An old man said loudly as he went to the fighting ring. It's the first freak of Ming Mountain. He's an 8th-level martial master, and he's won 7 battles in a row against people of the same level. He's considered an expert among 8th-level martial masters. He's qualified to be Tianyun's first candidate. Someone recognized the old man as soon as he went to the fighting ring. You can fight him. The judge nodded, acknowledging Weirdo of Ming Mountain's strength. Child Tianyun, please. Weirdo of Ming Mountain stared at Lu Ming, emitting a powerful aura. Lu Ming smiled and a long spear appeared in his hand. Bang! Strange Ming Shan took a step forward and dashed toward Lu Ming at a high speed. Wind Demon Staff Technique? Ming Shani yelled. The dragon-head walking stick in his hand swung toward Lu Ming like a whirlwind. One stick after another, it was continuous. Weirdo of Ming Mountain showed his strength as soon as he made a move. He was one of the top fighters among the LV8 martial masters. Lu Ming thrust out his long spear and fought with Weirdo of Ming Mountain. He didn't use force. Weirdo of Ming Mountain was strong, but he didn't need to use force. After a dozen moves, Weirdo of Ming Mountain was swept away by Lu Ming's spear. Weirdo of Ming Mountain was defeated, which was expected by everyone. However, the experts who came later would be stronger and stronger. The real challenge had just begun. Who wants to fight me? Lu Ming looked around. Tianyun, I'll kill you. With a loud shout, a disciple of the Shifeng Sword School jumped onto the fighting ring. Disciples of sects like the Decimo Sword Faction, who could reach such a cultivation base at such a young age, were all geniuses. There was almost no need for them to test their strength. Tianyun, if you know what's good for you, hurry up and return the Xiantian origin liquid to senior brother Qiuming. Then kneel down and admit your mistake in front of everyone. If you do that, I can consider only crippling your cultivation and sparing your dog life. The disciple of the 10 Directions Sword Sect shouted coldly. He was extremely arrogant and shameless. Idiot. Lu Ming responded indifferently. What did you say? You're courting death. Even if I kill you, your items will still be mine. The 10 Directions Sword Faction disciple roared. his aura erupting as he charged towards Lu Ming. It had to be said that this disciple of the Ten Directions sword sect was very strong. He was much stronger than the eccentric of Mount Ming. No wonder he was so arrogant. Unfortunately, his opponent was Lu Ming. Whoosh! The power of the wind was infused into the long spear, causing the long spear's speed to reach the extreme. Everyone only saw a spear shadow flash, and in an instant, it appeared in front of the Ten Directions sword faction disciple. Pucci. The long spear pierced through the heart of the Ten Directions sword faction disciple. The Ten Directions sword faction disciple screamed and fell to the ground, no longer breathing. Insta-kill in one move. What a powerful strength! Everyone was shocked. The Ten Directions sword faction disciple was extremely arrogant a moment ago, but he was instantly killed. Tianyun is too strong to be able to kill someone 2 levels higher than him in one move. This disciple of the Ten Directions sword faction is not weak. He's a top expert even among the 8th level martial grandmasters. Tianyun's combat strength is definitely equivalent to a 9th level martial grandmaster. That's terrifying. Can he really break the record of the 6 Burning Sun heroes? Many people were discussing in shock. At that moment, Lu Ming had already won 2 matches in a row, while the other 5 of the 6 Burning Sun heroes had only won 4 matches in a row. Everyone was looking forward to it. You're courting death. A furious roar came from the Ten Directions sword faction disciple. A figure jumped high and landed on the fighting ring, causing it to shake violently. It was Chiu Ming. Tianyun, your winning streak ends here. It's impossible for you to break the record of the 6 Burning Sun heroes. Chiu Ming looked at Lu Ming coldly. Do you think you can stop me? Don't be like the previous one. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Don't compare me to him. Tianyun, you've offended the Ten Directions sword faction. Today, I'll make sure you die miserably. Chiu Ming said coldly. At the same time, his aura became stronger and stronger. There was also a force in his aura, the force of metal. I forgot to tell you one thing. I've already refined all 9 drops of Khanate original liquid. Lu Ming suddenly changed his tone and said with a smile, What? You. Chiu Ming's face turned pale and his force almost dissipated. The Khanate original liquid was very useful to him. He wanted to kill Lu Ming mostly because he wanted to take the Khanate original liquid. But now, Lu Ming said that the Khanate original liquid had already been refined. Chiu Ming's eyes turned red and he roared furiously, Tianyun, you deserve to die. You deserve to die. Kong. The sound of a sword rang out and a brilliant sword chi slashed towards Lu Ming. The sword chi was infused with the force of metal. It was extremely sharp and indestructible. Shua. Lu Ming shook his long spear and unleashed the power of the wind, charging toward Chiu Ming. Boom. Heaven and earth roared, and the fighting stage shook continuously. Terrifying shockwaves spread out in all directions. They were evenly matched in the first exchange. Kill. Chiu Ming didn't manage to hit Suimo with his first attack. Chiu Ming's combat strength was absolutely terrifying. He wasn't as talented as Yang Zietian, but his cultivation was much higher than Yang Zietian's. Similarly, his combat strength was also much higher than Yang Zietian's. It wasn't difficult for Chiu Ming to kill someone with a higher cultivation level. Boom. Boom. The 2 of them exchanged more than 20 moves and the space around them shook. Chiu Ming's combat strength is too strong. He shouldn't have come out in the 3rd round. He's trying to stop Tianyun's winning streak. That's right. From the looks of it, Tianyun has the strength to break the records of the other 5 heroes. Unfortunately, Chiu Ming is stopping him. As long as Tianyun defeats Chiu Ming, he will have no problem breaking the record of the 5 heroes. The crowd discussed fervently. Is this all you've got? You've disappointed me. At this moment, Lu Ming suddenly said calmly, What? Chiu Ming was stunned. Boom. The aura on Lu Ming's body erupted like a volcano. An incomparably powerful aura burst out. It was the force of fire, wind, and fire combined to unleash a terrifying power. A long spear pierced through all obstructions and stabbed towards Chiu Ming. This spear couldn't be dodged or blocked because it was too fast and too powerful. No. Chiu Ming was scared out of his wits. He roared crazily and used all his strength to block the attack. However, it was unnecessary. The long spear pierced through his heart. The true energy on the long spear shredded his heart into pieces. Xiao Ming was dead. The crowd was stunned for a few seconds before they burst into an uproar. Chapter 249. Who else from your Decimo sword sect wants to fight? Lu Ming looked at the omnidirectional sword sect's area. However, the disciples of the Shifeng sword sect were silent. What a joke. Even Xiao Ming had been defeated. Among them, there were still a few experts of the 8th martial master realm, but none of them were as strong as Xiao Ming. Damn it. Wait until the geniuses on the 10 Directions sword faction's silver ranking arrive. Let's see how you'll die. The disciples of the Decimo sword faction all had gloomy expressions as they roared in their hearts. Lu Ming sneered. His gaze swept across the crowd, but still, no one stepped forward to fight. Tianyun, since that's the case, I, Tian Martial Arena, will send someone to fight, the referee said. Lu Ming nodded. After a while, a young man with a murderous aura stepped onto the stage. However, this person was not as strong as Xiao Ming and was defeated by Lu Ming in just a few moves. 4 consecutive victories. Following this, the Tian Martial Arena sent another person up, but he was still defeated by Lu Ming. 5 consecutive victories had broken the record of the 5 heroes of the Burning Sun tribe. However, Lu Ming's victory didn't stop there. After that, the Sky Martial Arena sent out more and more people to fight. These people were all experts among the death fighters, each stronger than the last. Sadly, all of them were defeated by Lu Ming. 6 consecutive victories. 7 consecutive victories. He tied with Zhou Changkong's record, but not long after, Lu Ming won again. 8 consecutive victories. The crowd was in an uproar. Zhou Changkong's record was finally broken. Heavens, Tianyun is going to defy the heavens. Could it be that his talent is stronger than Zhou Changkong's? That might not be the case. Although Zhou Changkong was strong when he was a martial grandmaster, he was not much stronger than the other 5 heroes. When Zhou Changkong broke through to the martial ancestor realm, he underwent extreme nirvana and awakened a terrifying second bloodline. That was how he managed to leave the other 5 heroes in the dust and firmly sit on the throne of the 6 heroes of the Blazing Sun Empire. That's right. Although Tianyun is strong now, it's hard to say when he reaches the martial ancestor realm. That's true, but it's still very scary. Moreover, what's Tianyun's limit? How many consecutive victories can he achieve in the end? Everyone guessed in shock that Tianyun wouldn't be able to skip 2 levels and obtain 10 consecutive victories, right? As it turned out, their speculations were coming true. For the 9th match, Tian Martial Arena sent out a powerful expert who was even stronger than Xiao Ming. However, he was still not a match for Lu Ming. 9 consecutive victories. This caused the elders in the upper echelons of the Tian Martial Arena to be stunned. This little fellow's strength is not bad. In the future, he might even be able to join the Tian Divine Guards. We have to pay close attention to it. When the time comes, the credit for the recommendation won't be small. It is still too early for him to join the Tian Divine Guards. We will have to see how his second martial ancestor bloodline awakens. What we need to do now is to stop his winning streak. Otherwise, us old fellows will suffer a loss. A few old men were discussing among themselves, looking rather distressed. Let number 10 go up. He is the only person who obtained the top 10 numbers with the cultivation of an 8th level martial master. If even he is defeated, there is nothing we can do. Let's do it. Soon, the order was given, and a bare-chested young man in his 20s stepped onto the platform. There was a number 10 tattooed on his face. Number 10? Why is it number 10? Some of the people who knew the inside story of the Tian Martial Arena cried out in surprise. The death fighters of the Tian Martial Arena, number 1 to number 10, were usually top-notch experts among the 9th level martial masters. But now, number 10 was a young man in the 8th level martial master realm. Many people understood that this number 10 must be extraordinary. It's an expert. This is more interesting. Lu Ming's eyes revealed a trace of battle intent. This number 10 did not emit a strong aura, but Lu Ming could faintly sense danger. Kill. Number 10 suddenly let out a loud roar, and a long spear appeared in his hand. In an instant, dozens of spear lights pierced through the air towards Lu Ming. He also uses a spear. Great! Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Buzz! The long spear trembled, and it let out a buzzing sound. Similarly, spear lights shot out and engaged in a great battle with number 10. On the 200-meter-long platform, two figures of light crisscrossed, and spear lights shot out with a whistling sound. It was incomparably terrifying. At the same time, there were three forces on the platform that were constantly bombarding and resisting. This little guy called Tianyun is really shocking. At such a young age, he has already comprehended two forces, and both of them have already reached the small success stage. Especially the fire force. It's close to the large success stage. That's right. Number 10's mountain force is also close to the large success stage, similar to Tianyun's fire force. However, Tianyun's wind and fire combination is even stronger. If not for number 10's cultivation being so much stronger than Tianyun's, I'm afraid he would have already lost. In my opinion, it's only a matter of time before he loses. In the upper echelons of the martial arena, a few elders were watching and discussing. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming and number 10 had exchanged more than 100 moves. Awesome, awesome. Lu Ming's eyes were incomparably bright. The more he fought, the braver he became. On the demon-suppressing spear, the wind and fire force converged, forming a shocking destructive power. In this battle, Lu Ming used all his strength except for his Earth-rank martial skill and bloodline. How powerful was Lu Ming now? The Battle Dragon technique was at the 4th level, and his body was at the peak of the 3rd stage. With the wind and fire force converging, an ordinary martial artist at the peak of the 9th level of the martial master realm would not be able to take more than a few moves from Lu Ming. From this, one could see how powerful number 10 was. The audience of more than 300,000 held their breaths and stared at the platform, afraid that they would miss the most important scene. Boom, boom. In the blink of an eye, another 100 moves had passed. Lu Ming became braver and braver and gradually gained the upper hand. A shocking killing intent erupted from number 10's body. Like a wild beast, he was not afraid of death, but he was still suppressed by Lu Ming. Bang! After another 100 moves, number 10 was sent flying by Lu Ming's spear. He slid a few 100 meters and fell off the platform. Roar! Number 10 growled and wanted to rush to the platform regardless of his injuries. Enough! The referee shouted. Number 10's body trembled and he stopped, fear in his eyes. Tianyun wins this battle, the referee announced. Phew! The audience exhaled. They were too nervous just now, and many people held their breaths until their faces turned red. Only now did they let out a long sigh. Then, there was a shocking uproar. More than 300,000 people were talking excitedly. 10 consecutive victories, 2 levels higher. That's terrifying. It hasn't happened in the Burning Sun Empire for at least 500 years. A miracle, a miracle. After today, Tianyun's name will be known all over the world. If Tianyun grows up, he will be as strong as the 6 heroes, or even stronger. I'm witnessing the birth of a miracle. In the crowd, Ming Chung and his siblings were so agitated that they were trembling all over. On the other hand, the people from the 10 Directions sword sect were all pale and bloodless. Lu Ming, will you continue with the challenge? Then, this question came to everyone's mind. Fighting 3 levels higher. Moreover, it was not as simple as 3 levels higher. His opponent would not be an ordinary LV9 martial master. He would definitely be stronger than number 10. Would Tianyun continue? Countless people were looking forward to it. This little guy won't really continue, will he? Among the higher-ups, several elders said with a wry smile. If Lu Ming continued to fight, they would lose money. Tianyun, do you want to continue? The referee looked at Lu Ming with a trace of nervousness and speechlessness in his eyes. Chapter 250. Under everyone's gaze, Lu Ming shook his head. I'm not challenging anymore. Lu Ming said. Huh. Everyone was stunned. He's not challenging anymore? Why isn't Tianyun challenging anymore? He clearly won. If he were to challenge someone 3 levels above him, he would be able to get an additional 1 million spirit crystals. Yeah, why isn't he challenging anymore? I'm about to witness history. Countless people were disappointed. Only the judge and a few elders of the Tion fighting arena were overjoyed. The judge suppressed his joy and said, Tianyun, since that's the case, I'll announce that you've won 10 consecutive victories. Your reward is 1 million spirit crystals. Lu Ming nodded. He didn't challenge anymore because he knew that if he were to show off too much and earn too many spirit crystals from the Tion fighting arena, it would definitely make the Tion fighting arena unhappy. Also, if he continued to challenge, he would have to face stronger opponents. In that case, all his trump cards would be exposed. It wasn't wise to expose all his trump cards in front of his enemies. Therefore, he chose to end the challenge. 1 million spirit crystals was enough for now. However, the audience couldn't help but wonder if Lu Ming would win if he continued to challenge, and how many consecutive victories he would get. Of course, there was no answer to this. Some people thought that Lu Ming had already used all his strength. If he continued to challenge, he would definitely lose. Therefore, he chose not to challenge anymore. Some people thought that Lu Ming still had some strength left. They didn't know why he chose not to challenge anymore. Everyone had different opinions. Lu Ming couldn't be bothered with them. He followed the judge and received his reward of 1 million spirit crystals. Lu Ming left in satisfaction. Of course, Myongcheng and his siblings were also there. Big brother Tianyun, you're too powerful. If I were half, no, 1/10 as powerful as you, I would laugh my head off even in my dreams. Ming Peek looked at Lu Ming with admiration. Lu Ming smiled and said, let's go. What do you want to buy? It's my treat today. Really? Ming Peek was overjoyed. Without the slightest hesitation, he dragged Pearl and Myongcheng towards the market square. When they arrived at the market, Ming Cheng and his siblings chose from all over the place and spent 5,000 to 6,000 spirit crystals. To Lu Ming, this was nothing. Lu Ming was now a millionaire. Then, he returned to the Star General Hall. At the entrance of Lu Ming's dormitory, he saw Hua Qi waiting there. Hua Qi, were you waiting for me? Lu Ming smiled as he walked over. Lu Ming, you have exceeded my expectations time and time again. Today, you actually managed to achieve 10 consecutive victories, surpassing Qiu Changkong's record. Hua Qi smiled. Of course, Ming Peek ran to Myongcheng's place, so there was only Lu Ming here, so he didn't need to worry about what he said. You found out so quickly? Lu Ming was stunned. Almost all of the higher-ups in the imperial capital know about it now. Hua Qi smiled. Lu Ming was speechless. The speed of the news spreading was really terrifying. Lu Ming, my father wants to see you. Hua Qi suddenly said. Your father? Lu Ming frowned slightly. Hua Qi's father, the current emperor of the Blazing Sun Empire, wants to see him? Yes, Lu Ming, I didn't hide your information from my father. You won't mind, right? Hua Qi looked at Lu Ming and said, why would I? Lu Ming smiled. In fact, Lu Ming had already expected this. Since he agreed to help Hua Qi, it was normal for him to tell his father. Seeing that Lu Ming didn't mind, Hua Qi smiled and said, Lu Ming, I have also told my father about your father. During this period of time, my father has sent a large number of people to investigate, and there seems to be some progress. What? There's news about my father? Lu Ming was stunned for a moment before he was overjoyed. Lu Ming, don't be happy too early. It seems to be just some progress. Hua Qi said, let's go and see your father. Lu Ming couldn't wait. Having some information was better than having no information at all. It was better than finding a needle in a haystack. Then, Lu Ming left the Star General Hall and sat on a beast carriage with Hua Qi, heading towards the Imperial Palace. After arriving at the Imperial Palace, Lu Ming followed Hua Qi to the Imperial Garden. When Lu Ming arrived at the Imperial Garden, he saw a middle-aged man with a burly figure, wearing a golden dragon robe, sitting in a pavilion and drinking tea. He was just sitting there casually, but there was an intimidating aura around him. This was the aura of an emperor. Without a doubt, this was the current emperor of the Blazing Sun Empire, Hua Zhengxing. Son greets father. Arriving at the pavilion, Hua Qi bowed. This commoner Lu Ming greets your majesty. Lu Ming also cupped his fists in greeting. Haha, nephew Lu Ming, there's no need to be so courteous. Come, have a drink with this emperor. Hua Zhengxing was very forthright as he laughed heartily. Lu Ming and Hua Qi entered the pavilion and took a seat. Beside them, the emperor's trusted aide poured tea for Lu Ming and Hua Qi. I've long heard that nephew Lu Ming is a dragon among men, unparalleled in the world. Seeing you today, it's true. Hua Zhengxing smiled. Your Majesty is too kind, Lu Ming said modestly. Hua Zhengxing took a sip of tea and said, Lu Ming, in this period of time, you've created many miracles, but at the same time, you've also offended the 10 Directions Sword Sect. From now on, you must be careful. However, since you've already joined the Star General Hall and are old Eight's close friend, this emperor can promise you one thing. As long as it's a competition between peers, no matter what happens, this emperor and the imperial family will definitely stand on your side. Lu Ming's heart moved. Hua Zhengxing's words implied that as long as it was a competition between peers, he could do whatever he wanted. The imperial family would definitely stand firmly behind him and protect him. Many thanks, Your Majesty. Lu Ming cupped his fists. Although the imperial family had declined, a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. With the emperor's promise, Lu Ming did not need to be afraid when encountering disciples of the 10 Directions Sword Sect in the future. He could directly kill them. If the older generation of the 10 Directions Sword Sect made a move, the imperial family would definitely step in. This way, Lu Ming had fewer worries. There's more. Hua Zhengxing's hand moved, and a storage ring appeared in his hand. He said, Here are the blood refinement pills. There are a total of 4,000 pills. Lu Ming's heart moved. It seemed that the blood ant egg last time had been refined into blood refinement pills. Lu Ming did not stand on ceremony and accepted it. This was what he deserved. Your Majesty, I heard that you know the whereabouts of my father? At this time, Lu Ming asked. He wanted to ask as soon as he arrived, but he had been holding it in. Now, he finally could not hold it in anymore. Hua Zhengxing pondered for a moment and said, During this period, I've been sending people to investigate. The investigation started 8 or 9 years ago, and finally found some clues. It's very likely that your father was imprisoned by the 10 Directions Sword Sect for some reason. This is certain. Moreover, it's very likely that your father isn't dead. However, we haven't found out where exactly he is imprisoned yet. Father is really not dead. Lu Ming's heart trembled. Thereafter, he was filled with endless rage. His father was actually imprisoned by the 10 Directions Sword Sect. Damn it, the 10 Directions Sword Sect deserves to die. Chapter 251. Lu Ming, don't worry, I will do my best. It won't be long before I find your father's whereabouts. Hua Zhengxing said with a serious face. Lu Ming thanks your Majesty first. Lu Ming cupped his fists and bowed. This time, he was sincere. Although he knew that the reason why Hua Zhengxing was helping him was nothing more than because he had taken a fancy to his talent and wanted to rope him in, it didn't matter as long as it was beneficial to both sides. Hua Zhengxing smiled, looking quite satisfied. He then took out a gilded invitation card and said, Lu Ming, 3 months later, it will be my 60th birthday. This is the invitation card. You must attend it 3 months later. Lu Ming's heart moved, and he didn't refuse. He took the invitation and said, Don't worry, Your Majesty. Lu Ming will definitely be there. Haha, Lu Ming, there aren't many people who can make my father personally send an invitation. Only the 5 major sects and the ministers in the imperial capital. Hua Qi smiled. Lu Ming, you should cultivate well during this period. When the 5 major sects gather in the imperial capital, the geniuses on the silver ranking and even the gold rank disciples will come. I'm afraid that the disciples on the silver ranking of the Shifang sword sect will find trouble with you. You must be careful. Hua Zhengxing warned seriously. Lu Ming thanked him again. After chatting for a while, Lu Ming and Hua Qi got up and left. In the general hall, Lu Ming sat on the bed. Father, how have you been all these years? Why did the Shifang sword sect imprison you? Is it because of the bronze pendant? Father, I'm useless. I can't save you now. Lu Ming clasped his hands together tightly. Strength. he was still too weak. If he was strong enough, he could kill his way to the Shifeng sword sect and force them to release him. But now, he was still too far away. He urgently needed to improve his strength. Martial Ancestor Realm. I must reach the Martial Ancestor Realm as soon as possible. Only Martial Ancestor Realm experts in the Burning Sun Empire can be counted as real experts. Only Martial Ancestor Realm experts have the right to speak and can fly. It will be of great help to me. After the consecutive battles in the Dtion Martial Arena, I feel that my bottleneck has loosened. Tomorrow, I will go and buy a batch of demonic cores and focus on raising my cultivation. Then, Lu Ming appeared on the third platform of the Temple of Paragon. He put in the spiritual crystals and started to fight with himself. The next day, Lu Ming went out early and walked towards the market square. It was still the treasure pavilion. "Young master, you're here. Please come in." The eyes of the girl who received Lu Ming last time lit up when she saw Lu Ming. She brought Lu Ming to a VIP room. "Ha ha ha, young master, long time no see." Soon, the shopkeeper walked in. "Sir, what would you like to buy this time?" "Shopkeeper, give me 100 Class 9 Class 3 monster cores," Lu Ming said. 100? The shopkeeper was shocked. "That's right. Is there a problem?" Lu Ming frowned slightly. Did the treasure pavilion not have enough stock? No problem. The shopkeeper quickly shook his head. He was just shocked and did not understand why Lu Ming wanted to buy so many monster cores. "Also, give me 20 portions of Class 9, Class 3 Monster Blood Essence." Lu Ming continued, Okay. Please wait for a moment, young master. It will be here soon." The shopkeeper nodded his head repeatedly. His face was full of smiles as he walked out. Soon, the shopkeeper came back with 100 monster cores and 20 portions of Monster Blood Essence. "Young master, the original price of these monster cores and blood essence is 1 million spiritual crystals, but you have a VIP card, so you can get a 20% discount. So, it will be 800,000 spiritual crystals," the shopkeeper said with a smile. Lu Ming nodded. It was good to have a VIP card. This way, he could save 200,000 spiritual crystals. Lu Ming paid the spiritual crystals and kept the monster cores and blood essence. He left the treasure pavilion under the admiring gazes of the shopkeeper and the admiring gazes of the beautiful shop assistants. After returning to the Star General Hall, Lu Ming went straight to the Earth Essence Cave. It was best to cultivate in the Earth Essence Cave. Lu Ming went to the 6th level of the Earth Essence Cave and sat down cross-legged in a secret room. With a flash of blood, the spirit-devouring bloodline appeared. A giant python more than 10 meters long with distinct scales floated above Lu Ming's head. Lu Ming took out a monster core. The giant python opened its mouth and sucked the monster core into its mouth. At the same time, there was a huge amount of fire attribute spiritual chi. Now that the spirit-devouring bloodline had reached level 7, its speed of devouring spiritual chi was terrifying. It was even faster than a level 9 bloodline. The huge amount of fire attribute spiritual chi and the energy of the monster core could not be refined by the bloodline and poured into Lu Ming's body. The bottleneck of peak level 6 martial master finally began to loosen and there were signs of a breakthrough. "I'll add 2 more. With a move of his hand, he took out 2 more monster cores and let the giant python swallow them. Boom! Surging energy poured into Lu Ming's body and finally turned into a loud explosion. 7th level Martial Master, Breakthrough. After breaking through to level 7 Martial Master, Lu Ming's bloodline became even more terrifying. It continued to absorb the spiritual chi of the outside world. The spiritual chi of the outside world formed a funnel and was constantly devoured by the spirit-devouring bloodline. At the same time, Lu Ming took out another monster core and continued to devour it. The true chi in Lu Ming's body surged crazily. A few hours later, the phenomenon disappeared. 7th level Martial Master, my true chi is twice as dense as a 6th level Martial Master. However, it's still not enough. I have to continue to break through. After that, Lu Ming continued to devour the monster cores and cultivate. Every day, he spent half of his time cultivating the true battle dragon art and devouring monster cores to increase his cultivation. The rest of the time was used to comprehend the power of fire and figure out martial skills. Time flew by, and a month passed in the blink of an eye. 100 monster cores had been completely devoured by Lu Ming. Lu Ming's cultivation had risen to the peak of level 7 martial master. Yes, 100 level 3 monster elixirs could only raise Lu Ming's cultivation to the peak of 7th level martial master. After reaching level 7 martial master, the effect of the class 9 monster cores would be much weaker. He had also devoured all 20 class 9 monster blood essences and used them to increase his bloodline rank. However, his bloodline was still at level 7 and did not break through. Lu Ming estimated that unless it was a martial ancestor realm blood essence, it would take a long time for his bloodline rank to increase. Martial ancestor blood essence. At the thought of this, Lu Ming could not help but smile bitterly. Martial ancestor blood essence was level 4 monster blood essence. Lu Ming had a headache just thinking about the price. The fire element spiritual chi in the 6th floor of the earth element cavern is still too weak. Let's go to the 7th floor. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. It was said that only martial ancestor realm experts could go to the 7th floor of the earth origin cave. Because the fire attribute spiritual chi was too dense and violent, it was very dangerous for martial grandmasters to go down. However, Lu Ming had the spirit-devouring bloodline and was not afraid. He planned to use the dense spiritual chi of heaven and earth to help him break through and comprehend the power of fire. He felt that the power of fire was very close to reaching the greater success stage. He walked out of the secret room and headed to the 7th floor. As soon as he reached the 7th floor, Lu Ming felt as if he had arrived at the mouth of a volcano. The terrifying and violent fire attribute, spiritual chi, constantly attacked Lu Ming. Good, this kind of environment is what I need. Chapter 252. A few hours later, Lu Ming stopped cultivating and began to comprehend the force of fire. Time flew by, and another month and a half passed. On this day, the stone door of the secret chamber opened, and Lu Ming walked out. Lu Ming had a smile on his face. It was obvious that he had gained a lot during this time. There was only half a month left until the emperor's birthday. Lu Ming planned to ask about his father's situation. He walked out of the Hall of General and walked toward the palace. Suddenly, the people on the street looked up at the sky in disgust. Who is that? How dare you fly so brazenly in the sky above the imperial city? Someone shouted. Ordinary martial ancestor realm experts were forbidden from flying above the imperial city. Only the overlords were not restricted by this rule. But now, someone dared to do so? Lu Ming also looked up. In the sky, there was a young figure in his 20s. He wore a red robe and had a tall stature. He was currently walking through the air towards the depths of the imperial capital. It's Ling Yanqi, one of the 6 heroes. Someone exclaimed. What? It's Ling Yanqi? Many people were shocked. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. It was Ling Yanqi, one of the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun Empire and the strongest of the younger generation in the Crimson Cloud Valley. This was the first time Lu Ming saw the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun Empire. Brother Ling, wait. Right at this moment, a soft shout came from behind. Then, a young man in a white robe with a handsome face stepped through the air and arrived. It's Feng Wuji, the Mystic Essence Sword Sect's Feng Wuji, another 6 heroes. Someone shouted. He's Feng Wuji. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. In the Mystic Essence Sword Sect, Lu Ming had heard Feng Wuji's name countless times. Feng Wuji was the pride of the Mystic Essence Sword Sect's younger generation. Without a doubt, he was the strongest in the sect. Although Duamu Lin was known as a peerless talent, he was still too young to compete with Feng Wuji. Lu Ming had been in the Mystic Essence Sword Sect for more than a year, but this was the first time he had seen him in person. Brother Feng, you came so quickly. Let's go together. Ling Yanqi smiled, and when Feng Wuji arrived, the two of them walked side by side and disappeared into the sky. Oh my God, 2 of the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun tribe are here today. This is so rare. That's right. Normally, it's already extremely difficult to meet one. Now, 2 of them have appeared all of a sudden. His Majesty's 60th birthday is coming soon. No matter what, the 5 great sects have to put on a show. They will definitely gather in the imperial capital. It's inevitable that the geniuses of the 5 great sects will gather here. When the time comes, will the 6 heroes gather and fight? I'm really looking forward to it. That's hard to say. Among the 6 heroes, Qiu Changkong is invincible, but the other 5 have never fought before. I don't know who is stronger and who is weaker. It would be great if we could have a peak duel this time. On the streets, countless people were discussing. As for the fact that they couldn't fly in the Imperial City, they simply ignored it. If the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun tribe couldn't fly in the Imperial capital, who else could? They were the future overlords of the Burning Sun Empire. In the future, the entire Burning Sun Empire would be their world. Lu Ming didn't say anything and continued to walk toward the Imperial Palace. However, a sharp light flashed across his eyes. The 6 heroes of the Burning Sun tribe, he would reach this height sooner or later, or even surpass it. He successfully entered the Imperial Palace and met with Hua Qi. Unfortunately, although the Imperial Palace had sent out a large number of people, there was still no news of his father. Lu Ming sighed and could only wait. After discussing the current situation with Hua Qi, Lu Ming left the Imperial Palace. When he arrived at the entrance of the Star General Hall, he saw that a large number of students had gathered and were dispersing. Tianyun, he's back. Damn it. Why did he only appear now? Why didn't he appear before? It's all his fault. Murmurs could be heard from the surrounding students. Of course, they were whispering, afraid that Lu Ming would hear them. Lu Ming frowned. He didn't understand what was going on. Big brother Tianyun. At this moment, with a soft cry, Ming Feng came over. Ming Peak, what's going on? Lu Ming asked. Big brother Tianyun. It's the Shifang sword faction. Just now, the disciples of the Shifang sword faction came and threatened to cripple you. However, you weren't here and everyone said that you were in seclusion. Those disciples of the Shifang sword faction injured more than a dozen students of the Star General Hall. They were extremely arrogant. Ming Peak whispered. Shifang sword faction again. Killing intent flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. Big brother Tianyun, I think you should avoid them for now. I heard that among the disciples of the Shifang sword faction, there's a genius on the silver list. He's an existence that stands at the peak of the martial Grandmaster realm and is extremely powerful. Ming Peak said worriedly, if they come again, let me know. Lu Ming said in a domineering tone before he returned to his dormitory. In the following days, Lu Ming stayed in his dormitory and practiced various martial techniques on the 3rd platform of the Temple of Paragon. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. During this half a month, the geniuses of the 5 major sects gathered in the imperial capital. Not only were there geniuses of the martial Grandmaster realm, but there were also geniuses of the martial Grandmaster realm. Even the gold-class disciples of the various sects could be seen occasionally. However, during this half a month, although all the sects had gathered, it was very peaceful. Even the disciples of the Shifang sword faction didn't look for Lu Ming again. However, everyone felt that the atmosphere wasn't right, as if it was the eve of a storm. It was unusually depressing. Half a month later, the Emperor of the Blazing Sun Empire, Hua Jingxing's 60th birthday celebration began. Early in the morning, Hua Qi took a beast carriage to pick up Lu Ming. They arrived at the Imperial Palace together. The birthday celebration was held in the front yard of the Imperial Palace. The area was extremely spacious, but there were only a few dozen tables. Because those who could come here were all people of noble status, there weren't many people. Lu Ming followed Hua Qi and sat at a table on the right. As time passed, the number of people gradually increased. Some of Hua Qi's brothers and sisters, as well as the imperial concubines, princes, and ministers, all took their seats one by one. The Valley Master of the Crimson Cloud Valley and the elders have arrived. A loud shout spread throughout the entire venue. The faces of the princes, princesses, imperial concubines, and ministers all changed as they stood up together. Lu Ming didn't want to be too special, so he also stood up. At the gate, a group of 6 people walked in with majestic steps. The person in the lead looked middle-aged with a full beard. He wore a red robe and was extremely tall and sturdy. His gaze swept across, and everyone felt as if a vast sea was surging towards them. It was incomparably terrifying. Behind him, There were 4 old men who also wore red robes, but the red robes were trimmed with gold. They were the golden-robed elders of the Crimson Cloud Valley. The last one was a young man, but he was one of the 6 heroes, Ling Yanqi. Greetings to the Valley Master of the Crimson Cloud Valley. All the imperial concubines, princes, and ministers bowed to the Valley Master of the Crimson Cloud Valley. It could be seen how declining the imperial family was. They were respectful in front of the 5 major sections. Haha, no need to be so polite. Where's His Majesty? Hasn't he arrived yet? You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.